Episode 1, CTEBVI 2025, featuring Jenny Wheeler and Jonn Paris-Salb.
CATT, Center for Assistive Technology Training Northwest.
Welcome to the CATT-Cast, where we highlight key takeaways and insights from conferences and events that are hosted by our CATT community partners. Whether you made it to the conference or hope to attend next year, we want to celebrate the accomplishments of our partners and spark discussion around education and technology for blind and low vision accessibility. We hope that this podcast may help you connect with a community of practice and, of course, get excited about tech. Enjoy!
Hey friends, welcome to the very first CATT-Cast, where we shine a light on the power of connection, community, and technology in the world of blindness and low vision education. I'm Techie TVI Heather with CATT Northwest, and I'm here with my colleague Anatoly. I'm so excited you're here today because I am passionate about talking about technology and building community in the blind and low vision field. I also know that intelligent people like yourselves are always ready to learn. So I'm so glad you're here with us, and I'm excited for the conversation ahead. In today's podcast, we're sharing highlights from the 2025 CTEBVI conference, which is an incredible event for professionals supporting blind and low vision students. So let's dive in and get excited to learn about tech and teaching. I'm honored to introduce Jenny Wheeler, Regional Outreach Specialist for the Southwest with the American Printing House for the Blind. With over 20 years of experience as a TVI, comms, and assistive technology specialist, Jenny is passionate about personalized tech education for students with multiple disabilities. Her work with innovative schools and organizations have helped bridge the gap between academic and technological growth. She has also played a key role in expanding access to music by making Braille music more widely available and usable. You are also going to meet Jonn Paris-Salb, former president of the CTEBVI for many years and retired from the position just this year. He also served in education for 44 years as a teacher, principal, and tireless advocate in the California Department of Education as an assistive technology consultant. He now takes his full-time work as a grandfather very seriously. Jonn is now on what he calls permanent vacation. In today's episode, you and I get to be inspired by Jenny and Jonn as we explore the benefits of attending the CTEBVI conference, a valuable event that focuses on education, rehabilitation, technology, and opportunities for networking and connecting with others in the community. You'll hear what you can expect from the conference and walk away with key takeaways you'll want to share with colleagues and the families you support. As lifelong learners in education, staying connected to the latest trends and tools is not just helpful, it's essential to our professional growth and to the success of our students. So stay tuned. We're about to dive into a conversation that's packed with insight, encouragement, and practical value. Let's welcome Jenny and Jonn to the show. Jenny, we're so excited to have you here. Let's start at the beginning. Tell us the story of how you first got involved in the field of blindness and low vision and what led specifically to your work with Braille music.
Well, Heather and Anatoly, I just want to thank you so much for the honor of being here with you. It's such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. And thank you for this question. It's kind of a fun story. About 20 years ago, I had just finished a degree in music performance for oboe, and I was looking for something to do. And I had become acquainted with a family that had two blind children. At the time, they were about 12 years old, and their parents wanted them to learn music Braille, and they wanted them to take piano lessons. And I thought that would be a fun challenge. And so I started to teach them, and then I went looking for resources about music Braille, but at the time, there were none. There was nothing online, but what I did find was a correspondence course in literary Braille. And I thought, well, that sounds exciting. So I signed up for it. It was free, and the Library of Congress sent me everything I needed to learn literary Braille, and I had a lot of fun with that. But of course, my first job had been to find resources on music Braille. So I went down to the Arizona Instructional Resource Center in Phoenix. And I met a wonderful woman, Hingadura, and she didn't have anything on music Braille, but she did offer me a job. And so I worked as a Braille transcriber for 8 years while I got my teaching certificate. And then I worked for Arizona Schools for the Deaf and Blind for 11 years as a TVI and an O&M specialist and an AT specialist. And I came to APH about 2 years ago as the outreach specialist for the Southwest. But always, Braille has been my first and continuing love, and my passion continues to be in spreading the word about music Braille. And I'm excited to see that it is an exploding topic.
That's pretty awesome. You were also the keynote speaker at this year's CTEBVI conference, which is such a huge honor. What was the core message you hoped attendees would take away from your keynotes?
That was an enormous honor. And the title of that presentation was Building Bridges by Crossing Chasms. And what I wanted to share most with the incredible people who were there was that in times of division, advocacy and outreach are our pathway to unity. And the hardest times produce the strongest people who do the greatest work. And I was surrounded by the strongest people who I believe do the greatest work. And people who achieve together through communication and understanding and appreciation and friendship. And what I wanted most importantly to leave with them is that as we are all interconnected, we need each other to succeed.
Thank you so much. I love that. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this year's conference overall. What stood out to you, and how do you think CTEBVI supports educators and professionals like myself in our field?
This is an amazing question, and it actually encompasses not just this year, but 3 years total now, which I hope will stretch into 10 and then 20 and 30. I came to CTEBVI for the first time 3 years ago, and I didn't know at that time anyone, and I didn't know what to expect, but I did have a long history with conferences, so I could compare it with many of my past experiences. And my purpose that year was not only to come and hear the content, which I knew was going to be excellent, but to specifically learn about those who were going to be there. And what I saw was a community of people who knew each other well and took care of each other, and it impressed me. And I loved how the conference welcomed transcribers and teachers to learn together. I had never seen anything like that before. And I had believed all throughout my career that this is how things should be. So I left with the intention of coming back, and I am now a member of CTEBVI and a huge supporter of these annual events.
That's pretty inspiring. Heather says you always have amazing projects in the works. Can you share a bit about what you've been working on recently?
Well, that's such a nice thing to hear. So many things all the time. When I came into the field 20 years ago, no one was talking about music Braille or tactile graphics. And assistive technology made our teachers feel uncomfortable, and so did being responsible for math and science education. And our students with complex needs didn't really have a part in our conversation, definitely not at the university level or in continuing education. But today, just like I mentioned with music Braille, all of these topics are exploding, and interest in them is steadily growing in every part of our field with really capable, talented people who are entering it and who continue in it. So my attention right now is focused on ensuring that our teachers have all of the information on these things and also anything else that they need so that they can experience complete confidence and success with their students. You could probably say that the teachers themselves, our service providers, our families, they are the projects that I'm working on. They are the most important things to me.
Well, that's awesome because I'm on the other side of that, Jenny. I am a service provider working with these families. So the more information and the more education you can provide for us to improve our teaching and our practice is amazing. So I thank you for that, Jenny. And I'm thinking that before we bring in Jonn into the conversation, CATT Northwest was present at the conference. And from your perspective, how can educators, families, and community partners benefit from CATT Northwest's training model?
This also is a wonderful question. I have long time experience with the CATT program, and it is my observation and my intimate experience that CATT Northwest does an incredible job of providing a lot of wonderful ways to bring people together so that they can learn as a connected community. And as you know, this is extremely important to me. They have a really valuable partnership with APH that gives us many opportunities to share information and tools and resources, and I think most importantly, strength with our teachers and our service providers and our families and our administrators. In other words, all of the people who need and deserve these things the most. So I encourage everyone to take advantage of the services that CATT Northwest offers and also to participate fully in the community that they create.
Thanks so much, Jenny, for your passion and insight. Let's bring Jonn Paris into the conversation. He's a true pillar in the VI community. Jonn, it's great to have you with us.
Well, I love being here. This is a wonderful opportunity, not only just to be part of this podcast, but hopefully part of another set of resources available to people in the VI world because it's a niche world.
I agree. And Jonn, you have been on the forefront from the beginning. So you've had such a rich and varied career. Can you share how you first got involved in the field of blindness and low vision?
Well, I don't want to say I was a slacker, but an opportunity came up in high school for me to go to an outdoor education experience with a special ed program from Mount Diablo Unified School District. And I got a week off from school in high school. I thought, okay, sign me up. Well, my entire group was the only group there that was blind and low vision. So I had 12 boys, and one had his dog with him. And the program was mostly geared towards the RSP and SDC kids that they called something else back in the day. This was back in the 60s. And so they didn't have a program for us, but I said, well, we can't just sit around. So the first day with my kids, by the way, two are older than I was because of the special ed, you can stay in longer than regular high school years. I decided to take them on a hike. So we went through creeks and picked up pollywogs and banana slugs and tried to catch turtles and things like that. We got wet and we had a great time. And when we came back, I forgot to tell anybody that we were going. So I figured, well, they didn't have any program for us, but they were about ready to call the police. But the kids in the group were so excited about being able to get wet and touch all these amazing things out in nature that they thought, maybe this is a good thing. The group was wonderful, and that got me very involved in looking at people without limits. And I spent my career as a teacher and a principal thinking about everybody is on a spectrum of something. Some are really good at math, some are terrible at math, some are good at art, not so good at art. Some people have strengths and weaknesses in a lot of areas that may not be as appreciated by others, but it's a strength for them. And I think it's the most important thing in my career was to point out to students that they have strengths and they can build on those strengths and develop more strengths. My years at the Department of Education, I was in charge of Braille and large print for the state of California. I also got a lot of phone calls from teachers, TVIs mostly, that said they're not going to let my student take this science class. And so, because of my experience as a principal and administrator, I'd call up their principal and say, here's a lawsuit you're going to lose. And so let them take it. If they fail, that's okay. Everybody fails sometimes with and without disabilities. But sometimes you give them an opportunity and they succeed. And they find something in that course or that instructor that inspires them to consider options as their careers and their futures. And that's what we're really all about. We are there to provide pathways and links and accessibilities and inclusion so that when students are ready to move on to the next level, whether it be VOCED or university or doing whatever they want to do, maybe it's in the film and music industries, they have tools and confidence to be able to get them there. And that's what I think most people that go into the VI world appreciate, that they are the ones that inspire. They don't get the credit often, but they do an awful lot of work behind the scenes to help ensure success for those individuals as they go through the system.
Jonn, thank you very much for sharing that wisdom. For someone who's never attended a CTBVI conference, like myself, a school psychologist, or a general educator, what exactly is CTEBVI and what kinds of topics are covered, and who should consider attending?
I've been involved with CTBVI for 18 years, and it's the only conference that specifically targets those people that work directly with students that have vision impairments, whether they're blind, low vision, or a lot more currently CVI. And so usually staff development in a school is going to look at curriculum or new programs that are being introduced, but never will a school district have enough TVIs and support personnel like the Paris and all the others, the O&M, the people that really are the team that leads those individual students. And so this conference is the one place where they can go and talk about a student that has an eye condition they've never seen before, or a new technique, or a new technology, or a way to use technologies in new ways. Because as most assistive technology works, I mean, I saw it when it first was developed, and those huge giant CCTVs that were rolled in on, on giant carts. And a lot of the VI students didn't like that because it made such a huge shadow on them, and they just wanted to be like everybody else. And with AT, they have the coolest tools in the classroom, far more superior than like when iPhones first came out. They had stuff that was equivalent to that, and they could send messages and they could do all kinds of things that the other kids, when they found out, they thought, wow, these kids are amazing. Our peers are almost so far ahead of us in technology. And so, what we need to do is we need to operate in a conference that provides the training for AT, the training for networking, the training for getting the most resources, and all importantly, how to put it together legally. So, we make sure on our website that you can look up IDEA, anything having to do with vision impairment, anything having to do with ADA, anything having to do with federal requirements and things that are already laws on the book. So if the student needs a particular tool, you can justify it. Instead of saying it'd be a really good tool for this kid, you can go back to the law and say, here's what the student needs to be successful. If you deny this, this is the repercussion. And at this conference, that's where you learn these kinds of tools and this networking, what to say to administrators, what to say to special ed directors, so that your words will actually turn into actions and, more importantly, benefit the individual student. So that's the kind of conference this is. But it's not all work and taking notes and recording and memorizing things that people have said. There's a lot of networking and a lot of fun because you're with your peers. You're with the people that work every day with these kids that have challenges. Probably no more than other people, but people perceive kids that can't see as having more challenges. They're just different challenges. And what we need to do is provide those people that support students with the tools they need, the networking so that they have questions, they know where to go to get answers. And that's what this conference does. I encourage you to come, Anatoly.
All right, thank you.
Jonn, one of the things I just love that you said is that students want to be like everybody else. And the conference itself is providing training on assistive technology, networking, resources. And you said making our services legally defensive, finding out information to make things legal and ethical and implementing those services. And I think that that's one of the most encouraging aspects of the CTEBVI conference in itself. Is there anything else that you didn't say or you were hoping to encourage or ignite in the attendees over all of these years?
There's a couple of things that we started about 10 years ago, and those are the institutes. We feel that the students needed to be there at the conference. So we have an all-day Saturday workshop for students from 12 to 22. And that includes many workshops throughout the morning, a chance to go to the exhibit hall by themselves and ask the vendors what their latest tools are and have them be able to try them out. So the Institute's a wonderful thing. We also have a parent institute because a lot of parents, they are afraid to ask questions of the administrators in the school, afraid that if they say the wrong thing, their child will be denied services. None of that is true, but this brings forth parents that are advocates and makes them stronger advocates. It brings together parents who have never advocated and tells them what are the first steps. How do you not only advocate for your child, but how to learn to pass that advocacy to your child so the child can start defending themselves and their needs because that's what they need to do as an adult. The third thing we started probably just a few years ago was a training, and we're still in the process of editing and fine tuning it. But this is a training for paraeducators. About 10 years ago, they started reducing the number of resource centers where students would go to get specialized services, use special equipment, and things like that. And the students would come to the TVIs in those resource rooms. Well, they're pretty much gone in California and across the country. Part of that is because there just aren't enough TVIs. They're spread very thinly. But also part of it is because it's such an important inclusion model to make sure that students with disabilities are not isolated. They are included in social, athletic, any aspect of the school that they be included. So we started a training program for paraeducators, hoping that we encourage more people to become paraeducators and try to get school districts to understand this extra training should help them in the salary schedules as well. But also, very selfishly, that once they get involved with the students, realize that if they became a TVI, they could have even a greater impact on the students that they work with day in and day out. So we've started that. It's not quite finished, but it has a ways to really make an impact not only in California, but across the country and around the world. So we're hoping that to bring this to CTEBVI, put it on our website, and charge a nominal fee just to recoup some of the costs that have taken place. But we're very, very excited about this because it also shows administrators that you don't have to send somebody for 8 days or 10 days to get the training, that they can do this online. And then we're hoping to follow that up with a track. We now have tracks for transcribers, for TVIs, for parents and others involved, including psychologists. And we're hoping to add the paraeducator track as well. So it really brings together all the professionals that work with these students. By the way, the O&M are included in a lot of the workshop presentations, and we invite an awful lot of O&M groups to come in and to work with the conference during the exhibit hall and to provide workshops. I know Guide Dogs for the Blind is there every year, but we've also reached out and we've had a few other guide dog organizations across the country come to our conference to talk to people about the value of service dogs and the independence that they provide.
Thank you, Jonn. Outside of the conference itself, what are some ways parents and educators can stay connected and continue to collaborate year round?
There are a few ways, one of which I think TVIs are connected through CATT, but I believe that that might be an avenue for CATT to explore on how to get information to parents and parents being able to access technology videos, trainings that they think might be appropriate for their own children. They can also be part of CATT-NW, which is an organization that provides trainings, group support sessions, and these are all through Zoom and email and other kinds of social media. There's a way for parents to connect in that way. I would encourage them to go to conferences like CTEBVI at least once every 2 years so they can keep updated. But when they come to the conference, they can connect with each other, exchange contact information so that they can take those little steps forward in advocacy, not only for their child, but for all the children in their area, and to make sure that the administrators, both at the site and the district office, are aware that parents are informed and can access the legal rights that their children have and their rights as parents to demand and expect superior education for their children.
Oh, I love that, Jonn. You guys have such a wealth of information, and I am so happy to hear your passion and your advocacy on providing equal access for blind and low vision students as their peers. This last question is for both of you, Jenny and Jonn. Are there other conferences such as CTEBVI that are available to professionals in the VI field today? And what is the importance of attending those conferences?
Well, Heather, that's an amazing question. I always emphasize the importance of community. We can't do the work we have to do alone. We need each other. There are a lot of great conferences across the country. Of course, the access that we have to them is very much dependent on the location that we're in. These conferences are an easy way to accomplish our work together, and I think that CTEBVI is an exceptionally good conference. If people came to that every year, I think they would get pretty much everything that they need, and it's something I'd love for everyone to be able to take advantage of. I think that CATT Northwest does a great job of supporting these conferences, and the people who attend and benefit from them, and I love working with their team.
Before I talk about other conferences, I want to give a plug for Jenny. Her speech at the last conference was absolutely amazing. People talked about it. It was the morning session before all the workshops began for the whole conference. We had a pre conference day, but this kicked off the conference, and I can't think of a better way to introduce people to think about what their impact is than the way Jenny presented this whole idea of the bridge. And she was just amazing. So Jenny, you are absolutely a superstar. So yeah, I'll get that out of the way first. In terms of other conferences, there are a lot of webinars. There are a lot of trainings. I would encourage you to look at conferences that involve all assistive technology because I don't know if you're aware of this statistic, but 80% of the students who are blind or low vision have a secondary and sometimes comparable disability in some other way, whether it be autism, whether it be cerebral palsy, or it be a fragile medical condition, or simple things that are more common to the general population, like ADD and ADHD. But there are so many tools out there to help kids, and we can't just focus on their vision. You have to look at the whole child. One of the people at the conference that has been coming year after year and telling people how important socialization is Adrian Amandi, and he's with the California School for the Blind. He does an amazing job of talking about the role of the community, the students and the staff, and the rest of the community to get involved in including kids and doing things that are done in an inclusive way. So, those kinds of conferences, those kinds of workshops, those are the pieces that when you put them together, they build a toolbox for students, for parents, and for the professionals that work with those students. So I do encourage people to join California Transcribers and Educators for the Blind and Visually Impaired. That's CTEBVI. Your membership saves you a lot of money on conferences, but more importantly, it gives you access. We have a professional journal that comes out 3 times a year, written by people that are renowned across the country, including music education. We also have a monthly newsletter that comes out and that has a specific topic and links to the whole article should you be interested in that. So if you were looking at sex education for blind students, or you're looking at uh, new devices that have to deal with AI, these are the kinds of things that are in the newsletter. There's also 3 sets of laws that you can access and use the database to fly through to make up your IEP document and your support for why you want the services or the tools for the student involved. So that's about ADA, about all the laws that are federally, state, and international in some regards. So take a look at the resources that are available. There's also a database of current AT, where you can get it, and links to that particular business and organization. And I also want to put in a plug. There's also a database for conferences and a database for other organizations that are like in terms of working with students and adults who are blind and low vision. And there are over 200 organizations listed there with links to how to get in touch with them.
Wow, that was awesome. Jenny and Jonn, thank you so much for sharing your time and your stories, and most of all, your passion. You've given us, Anatoly and myself, and our listeners, so much to think about and to take back to our own communities.
We hope this episode inspires educators, families, and service providers to continue learning, connecting, and advocating. And if you haven't attended CTEBVI yet, make this the year you join us.
At CATT Northwest, community is everything. And together, we're creating a space where educators, tech leaders, and families can grow and learn side by side. If you're curious to learn more about CATT Northwest or would like to request a training, check out the CATT Northwest website for follow-up resources. Thanks so much for tuning in to the very first ever CATTcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back soon with more stories and tech talk from the field. Until then, keep learning, keep connecting, and keep teching on. Meow!
The contents of this video were developed through a partnership with the American Printing House for the Blind, APH. CATT Northwest is based at the Washington State School for the Blind, WSSB. Logos, WSSB and APH. The contents of this video were developed under a contract authorized by the Department of Education. However, these contents do not necessarily represent the policy of the Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government.